I mean, I love taking my clothes off. I just enjoy it very much.
You may know her for roles like her Oscar-winning character in the movie Howard's End. Liberated, to be sure, but Victorian, straight-laced, and proper. Emma Thompson wants you to know that she wasn't born in a corset. In the comedy The Tall Guy, her American movie debut, Thompson spoofs the nurse making an unforgettable house call.
A lot of those positions are, of course, completely impossible. Don't try them at home without adult supervision.
Were you actually nude?
Totally, utterly nude.
Had you ever done that before?
No, no, I hadn't. But it was so much fun to be nude.
Freeing?
Freeing, yes. And everybody was so terribly tender because you're vulnerable if you're naked. You know, there's nothing covering you. You know, this whole thing of power dressing and how clothes really do make the man. You know, and King Lear says, oh, is that all it is? You know, that little poor, bare, pointy, forked creature. You know, that's all we are. And as soon as you are naked and you see another person naked, you realise, you know, we're just little animals.
And speaking of King Lear, Thompson swears that Shakespeare doesn't have to be deadly. Her new movie is the comedy Much Ado About Nothing.
What is so fabulous about this movie is that Shakespeare is sexy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, erotic. Here's a group of very sexy men. I mean, when they come over the hill on those horses, there was sex on legs. I mean, it was just, and we're not like that, but all the girls in the cast were just drooling, because it's leather pants, horses, you know, slow motion. And then, you know, you see the women and everybody kind of getting ready for this kind of explosion of coming together, of the feminine and the masculine coming together in this hot, passionate countryside, you know, with the wine flowing and the sort of the sun kind of coming down like honey over everything. It's just, oh, excuse me, I may have to go lie down for a minute.
Emma Thompson was practically born on a stage. Her parents, actors Eric Thompson and Phillida Law, were married during a day off from playing Shakespeare in British repertory theatre.
When did you first realize what your parents did for a living and that it was different?
Oh, I always knew, because we were always taken backstage. And I'd wander in, and of course I was always at just about the level of the men's jock straps. You know, I was just, you know, I got a few eyeballs in my time, you know, and they were always so sweet and gave such good advice, like, you know, if you're going to get drunk, don't do it on champagne.
In the Thompson household, marital disputes were few but unforgettable.
I remember Mum throwing a handful of lemon meringue pie across the kitchen table, and it hit Dad just kind of there. I'm thinking it just slid slowly down his face, and he just looked at her. And me and my sister, we were just sitting there going, you know, what's going to happen now? She's thrown pie at him. And he started to walk around the table with the pie, and she was going, oh, no, Eric, no, please, no, please, no. And he took it, and he put it in his hands, and he just rubbed it into her face and hair, and just, you know.
When Emma was 16, the father she adored suffered a heart attack. And before he died at 52, he had a series of strokes that rendered him nearly speechless.
At the hospital, the people who did all the speech therapy were a little bit, now, Mr. Thompson, we're just going to take you through your verbs now. Of course, Dad, it was just, and all he could remember were swear words. This, you know, stricken man could only swear. But then we did speech therapy with him.
And you and your mother sort of did 15-minute intervals and taught him how to speak again. That must have been enormously trying.
Well, yes, it is, but I mean, of course, with one doesn't want one's life to be some sort of lovely ride, because that's not what it's about.
Thompson says that theater was never a part of her life plan.
I didn't want to be an actress at all, ever. No, I never wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to be Lily Tomlin.
She went to Cambridge University and joined Footlights, the comedy troupe that earlier spawned Monty Python.
Were you a serious student, or were you sort of a renegade at Cambridge?
Oh, I've never been a renegade. I've always been a bit of a goody, you know, very sort of irritating like that. But I got into thinking about politics a little more and about feminism a little more, and did odd things like shaving my head and wearing dungarees and little round glasses and looking like John Lennon.
In 1988, she finally got her shot at becoming Lily Tomlin when she wrote, directed, and starred in her own TV comedy series, simply called Thompson, and it bombed.
Saucepan lids tacked onto a perfectly ordinary apron make very good breast and rear plates, which are very useful to have.
Yes, it's their very popular areas.
The reviews were scathing. I reread them recently.
really.
And I think there's nothing tougher than being told you're not funny when you're trying to be.
Or just not even that. I mean, just that you are, not only are you not funny, but that you're self-indulgent, that you're, you know, you're a middle-class, sort of ghastly, just horrible. You know, I mean, it's like having pieces of skin ripped off you.
The brutal reviews devastated Thompson because at the time she had just reached a dramatic turning point in her career. Until she was 27, she had done nothing but comedy. Then she met this man.
Take me, take a soldier, take a soldier, take a king.
His name is Kenneth Branagh. They met on the set of a BBC dramatic series. And not long after, he asked her to play opposite him in his ambitious directorial debut, Shakespeare's epic, Henry V. The movie won critical acclaim, and Branagh, at 28, got Oscar nominations for Best Actor and Director. He was touted as the brightest star of British stage and screen since Laurence Olivier. With a romance now blooming on screen and off, Branagh and Thompson were dubbed the royal couple of British film.
You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate.
Was this love at first, attraction at first sight?
Yes, it was attraction at first sight. It was... yeah.
Did you know about his work and what a hotshot he was?
Yes, I did. I had been told that he was supposed to be this, you know, was it the Great White Hope or something? And that, of course, just made me want to
pop his
throw. When I first met Ken, nearly 7 years ago now, he was very suspicious, so suspicious about women. But I was a little bit scared, and therefore I think when I met him I was very much on my mettle and, you know, very combative and thing, and so was he, of course, because he would have thought the same thing. He would have thought, here's this Cambridge-educated, snotty, middle-class woman who, you know, has done all that comedy.
They were married in 1989, and Branagh cast his new wife as his co-star in their first American movie, Dead Again.
I do see love. Passionate, everlasting love.
Does this work on a lot of women?
I'll let you know.
She also took a comic turn in Branagh's movie, Peter's Friends.
Becky, something all right?
Fill me with your little babies.
Oh, my God!
Aren't you sort of astonished by your husband and his output? What he's able to do? I mean, the directing, the writing.
It's just a good line. I'm astonished by you and your output. I think I'm going to go home, actually, and tell him that. It's a good line.
Which brings us back to Thompson's new movie, Much Ado About Nothing, where she plays a wary, razor-tongued character named Beatrice.
I said, you know, I just don't know how to, I just don't know how to play her. I don't know how to play her. And Mum said, look, just don't worry, don't panic, and remember that part of her is like you, in a very good mood.
Against my will, I am sent to bid you come in to dinner.
There, Beatrice!
And well, guess who plays her lover? Benedict.
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
Would my horse have the speed of your tongue?
You sort of think that the two of you go around the house spurting sonnets all the time. Do you?
No. I'm sorry about that. It was a horrible notion. But no, not at all. No, we're pretty foul-mouthed, actually, at home.
Vocabulary aside, Thompson says she and her husband are a lot like Beatrice and Benedict.
They're just two people who say, look, you know, I love you, but don't mess with me. It is like Catherine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy in many ways. I always think of them as the sort of Beatrice and Benedict of you know, old Hollywood.
I do love nothing in the world so well as you. Is not that strange?
As strange as the thing I know not. It were as possible for me to say I love nothing so well as you. But believe me not.
Beatrice and Benedict seem to me, anyway, to exemplify the kind of relationships I think men and women could have much more often if they weren't so conned by the ghastly notion of romance, you know, that it goes from chocolates to roses to the diamond ring and then you live happily ever after, which is simply not true. I mean, I do actually think we've been conned about love. It always makes me laugh when I see in films people who're supposed to have been married for 10 years and they're still doing, you know, all that stuff. And you think, oh, come off it. They've been married for 10 years. You know, sex changes, you know.
They're not having sex on the kitchen floor anymore.
No, I mean, please, you know.
How do you feel about getting older?
With regard to being a woman getting older, that doesn't faze me at all, because I've never been an ingenue, I've never been a, you know, a beauty, as it were, or seen as such, or sold as such, or anything like that. So I have never, as it were, been hampered by by great beauty or anything like that, or the feeling that somehow, if I get older, I won't be able to work. That's never occurred to me.
How do you feel about how you look?
I think probably like most women, you look at yourself sometimes and think, oh, you know, I look quite well today, quite kind of bushy-tailed. And sometimes you look and just think, boy, you know, you just look tired and a little ill. I'm given to spots and putting on weight, and you know, over the years I've just kind of thought, well, you know, that's just the way I am.
You don't seem, frankly, to have an erotic button in you.
Oh, I think I do. I think I do, yes. I mean, I you know, I'm being very well behaved, of course, at the moment.
Much Ado About Nothing, directed by Kenneth Branagh, opens next month.